Been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union at
Chernobyl's Reactor 4, the scene of the total meltdown.
That explosion at a nuclear plant in the Soviet Union.
Nuclear reactor in Ukraine's Chernobyl power plant.
Of explosions powerful enough to blow off the steel and concrete lid.
When Reactor 4 exploded at the Chernobyl Nuclear Power Plant in 1986, it unleashed more than radiation. It opened a portal to secrecy, one where strange sightings, suppressed experiments, and unexplained anomalies still linger. For decades, authorities buried the truth beneath concrete and silence. But deep within the exclusion zone, strange discoveries have emerged. Abandoned labs with sealed vaults, biological mutations that shouldn't exist, forgotten Soviet experiments, and surveillance footage that defies logic. Some say the disaster ended in 1986, but what if it never really ended? Here's what's been hiding behind the radiation signs and why it still haunts us today. 1. The Blackbird of Chernobyl. Before the explosion, plant workers and residents reported a terrifying presence in the sky, a giant winged creature with glowing red eyes. They called it the Blackbird of Chernobyl, and it was seen circling the reactor in the days leading up to April 26th. The entity was eerily similar to the Mothman of Point Pleasant, West Virginia, another alleged omen before disaster. What's chilling is that multiple eyewitnesses described the same thing: a shadowy humanoid with a 10-foot wingspan and no visible features. Even seasoned engineers admitted they felt watched. After the explosion, sightings stopped. Some believe it was a hallucination caused by radiation exposure. Others say it was an interdimensional warning, a harbinger of doom, seen only before major catastrophes. 2. The Reactor 4 basement, Elephant's Foot discovery. In 1986, a team of scientists ventured into the deadly wreckage of Reactor 4 and found something horrifying: a massive lava-like blob of radioactive material, now called the Elephant's Foot. This glowing, almost alien substance was formed from melted nuclear fuel and reactor components. For years, it was so radioactive that being near it for more than minutes was certain death. But what shocked scientists wasn't just the danger, it was how the material seemed to move and shift shape. Later tests showed unusual heat patterns and strange internal currents. Some speculated it was alive, not in the biological sense, but as a self-sustaining thermodynamic anomaly. Even today, the Elephant's Foot is slowly decaying, but still emitting deadly energy. It may be the closest thing Earth has to a man-made black hole. 3. The Duga Radar, Soviet Mind Control Tower. Just a few miles from Chernobyl, hidden deep in the forest, stands a giant metal structure known as the Duga Radar. Officially, it was built for Soviet missile detection. Unofficially, it may have had a far stranger purpose. For years, shortwave radio listeners across the globe picked up the infamous Russian woodpecker signal, a repeating click coming from the radar. It interrupted broadcasts and scrambled signals, but no one could explain why. Some researchers believe the Duga was an early mind control experiment, attempting to broadcast low-frequency waves that could influence human behavior. Others think it was a massive test of weather manipulation or electromagnetic warfare. When Chernobyl blew, the project was abandoned, without explanation. The radar still stands, but its true purpose, that may have melted down with the reactor. 4. Mutant ecosystems inside the zone. Chernobyl was supposed to become a dead zone, a barren, lifeless wasteland. But today, it's teeming with life: wolves, boars, birds, insects, and mutations. Scientists returning decades after the blast expected nothing. Instead, they found thriving wildlife, some of which seemed to have adapted in strange ways. Birds with metallic feathers, insects that glow faintly in the dark, wolves with genetic resistance to radiation. One study even documented trees with altered growth rings, twisted spiraling patterns not seen anywhere else. Was this evolution, in fast forward, or something far more unnatural? The radiation didn't just kill, it changed things, and some believe this new ecosystem isn't just surviving, it's becoming something entirely new. 5. The room that was never on the blueprints. In 2019, a research team mapping out Reactor 3 made a strange discovery: a sealed room beneath the control level, one that wasn't on any Soviet blueprints. The chamber was covered in lead shielding. Inside, obsolete computing equipment, twisted metal tubes, and a thick journal, pages half-burnt, half-coded in numeric sequences. The journal allegedly detailed an experiment called phase blink, a test involving neutron flux and human consciousness. In simple terms, using nuclear energy to alter brain states. The room has since been closed off again. The documents vanished into Ukrainian intelligence archives, but one researcher who photographed the journal, he disappeared months later. Was this Cold War psychic warfare or an energy experiment that went too far? 6. The glowing fungi that feed on radiation. In the ruins of Reactor 4, scientists found something astonishing growing along the walls: black, glowing mold. These weren't ordinary fungi. They were radiotrophic organisms, life forms that literally feed on radiation. The fungi convert gamma rays into chemical energy using melanin, just like plants use sunlight. It defied everything we thought we knew about life. Some researchers now believe these organisms could help shield astronauts from space radiation, or even help decontaminate nuclear zones. But others ask, where did they come from? Were they native to Earth, or mutated into something entirely new? The discovery has been published, but it's often ignored, because the idea that something can thrive in what should kill it, that changes everything. 7. The fireman's gear, still too dangerous to touch. When Chernobyl's firemen responded to the explosion, they faced invisible death. Their uniforms, saturated with radioactive particles, were tossed into the hospital basement in Pripyat. They're still there. Geiger counters scream when brought near. The suits are so radioactive, they can't be buried, destroyed, or moved. They remain as relics of a sacrifice few understood at the time. But here's what's strange. Visitors have reported strange whispers near the basement, static on radios, shadow-like figures, even full-body chills. A haunting, or simply, the power of knowing death lives behind the door. 8. The disappearing workers of Reactor 5. The red truck inside Reactor number 4. The 5 mysterious machines of Chernobyl. Construction on Reactor 5 was nearly complete when disaster struck. The site was abandoned, frozen in time. But in 1997, satellite footage showed lights inside the building. In 2002, a drone detected movement in a sealed stairwell. A recon team found nothing, no signs of entry, no life. Then came the photos, blurry figures in reflective gear, glimpsed through broken glass. Locals believe some workers refused to leave. Others think secret experiments continued there, well into the 90s. Today, Reactor 5 remains eerily intact, like it's waiting to be turned on. 9. The metal door. that refuses to decay. Deep in the industrial zone of Chernobyl, behind a collapsed maintenance building, lies a steel door that's baffled scientists for decades. First photographed in 1992, the door was discovered half buried under rubble from the explosion. 10. The glitched surveillance tape. In 2021, an archival team digitizing old Soviet footage discovered a surveillance reel from April 26, 1986, the morning of the explosion. The tape was marked Camera 4A, External Cooling Station. For the first few minutes, it's uneventful, dusty, silent. Then, at 2:58 a.m., something strange happens. The reactor glows, not orange or white, but a deep blue-purple light, pulsing unnaturally. A figure appears at the edge of the screen. Humanoid, unmoving, bathed in the light. The camera glitches. Static consumes the frame. When it stabilizes, the figure is gone. The footage was authenticated, time-stamped, and confirmed to be unedited, but it was never released publicly. A whistleblower leaked it online, only for it to be removed within 48 hours. Some think it was just radiation distortion. Others suggest it captured something more, a ripple in time, a multidimensional bleed, or the last second of a failed experiment we were never meant to see. Whatever it was, the tape ends abruptly, and no other cameras recorded the same moment. 11. The voice that came through the reactor wall. During cleanup operations in the early 90s, a team working near Reactor 4's collapsed concrete wall reported hearing a voice, human, male, and distressed. Geiger counters were maxed. No one had entered that section in years, but multiple workers claimed they heard someone calling for help from inside the wall. Cameras were sent in, but nothing was found. The wall was sealed again. Years later, an old Soviet logbook revealed a chilling note. Test subject sealed. No recovery. Some now believe Soviet scientists may have used Reactor 4 for human radiation endurance tests in its earliest days. The voice may have been real, or an echo trapped in frequencies warped by intense radiation. Is it possible that some experiments were never evacuated? 12th. The compass room. Inside a remote laboratory near Pripyat, researchers found a sealed control room dubbed the compass room. On the walls were strange maps, magnetic field lines, ley lines, and solar radiation charts. But what truly puzzled investigators were the compasses, dozens of them, embedded into walls and ceilings, all still spinning. Decades after the explosion, the needles won't stop. GPS devices fail in the room, batteries drain, and the magnetic field reads off the charts. One researcher even claimed the compasses began aligning toward a direction not north, but deep underground. What were the Soviets tracking? A geomagnetic anomaly, or a power source beneath Chernobyl that we still don't understand? The room has since been locked, but the compasses are still spinning. 13. The reactor room that repaired itself. In 2017, a drone scanning the remains of Reactor 3 recorded something strange, a collapsed wall segment that reappeared intact in footage just 2 days later. Inspection teams rushed in. The wall was solid, clean, untouched. They assumed it was misfiled footage until a timestamp proved otherwise. Some theorized it was a time loop glitch caused by residual radiation interacting with quantum fields. Others blamed poor reconstruction logging. But the team that filmed the damage swore no repairs were scheduled, or even possible in that high radiation zone. Did part of Chernobyl just reset itself? 14. The underground tunnel with no end. Explorers who ventured into forgotten service tunnels beneath the plant stumbled upon something surreal, a hallway that never ended. It was a narrow corridor lined with rusted pipes, but after walking 40 minutes in one direction, the GPS still read 37 meters from origin. Batteries drained, headlights dimmed. One man described hearing his own voice whispered back to him, but delayed. Eventually, the team turned back, but the footage was corrupted, and their internal clocks were off by 4 minutes. Some believe it's a natural echo chamber. Others think the Soviets were experimenting with spatial warping, using electromagnetic fields to distort perception. Whatever it is, no one's found the end of that tunnel. 15. The melted camera that kept recording. In 1986, a wall-mounted camera above the Reactor 4 turbine hall was believed to have melted in the explosion, literally fused into the ceiling. But in 2005, while cataloging radiation hotspots, researchers found the camera's black box. Its tape was intact. When played, the footage showed 5 seconds of impossible clarity, the reactor glowing blue, then red, then white. But the rest of the tape was filled with symbols, not static, not noise, symbols. Mathematicians reviewing the tape said it resembled quantum notation and binary compression. How could a melted camera record information instead of images? Unless the explosion didn't just vaporize the room, it altered the physics of observation itself. 16. The lost train car beneath Reactor 1. In 2023, ground-penetrating radar uncovered a freight car buried beneath the concrete foundations of Reactor 1. It wasn't on any shipping records. When excavation began, officials halted it almost immediately, but leaked documents show the car was lead-lined, rusted shut, and bore biological hazard symbols from 1984. Inside, unknown, but whispers from cleanup crew claim it contained organic material submerged in glass tanks, alongside radiation-immune insects never documented elsewhere. Was it an experiment, a genetic vault, or something much older the Soviets never intended to explain? The car has been resealed, its contents classified. 17. The blueprints that shouldn't exist. A declassified folder from the Ukrainian archives included a schematic labeled Reactor 7, magnetic containment prototype. But Chernobyl only had 6 planned reactors. The blueprint showed a sub-reactor installation located beneath the main complex, built to harness pulsed magneto-hydrodynamic energy, a type of technology not publicized until decades later. Was Chernobyl a nuclear plant or a front for a more advanced Soviet energy experiment? Some believe Reactor 4 was targeted not because it was unstable, but because it was about to succeed. If a prototype existed beneath the facility, what happened to it? 18. The man who lived and kept glowing. In 1986, a control room technician named Alexei Ananenko was exposed to fatal levels of radiation while manually draining reactor valves. He was declared dead. But rumors persist that he survived for 14 years, off the grid, visiting various radiation institutes under an alias. One report from 1999 describes a man matching his features who emitted a faint, measurable glow and exhibited strange electromagnetic fields around his body. Medical records erased. His wife later claimed he wasn't the same man who left for the reactor. Was he part of a classified recovery program? Or did the explosion change him on a cellular level? Whatever the truth, Alexei's name has become a myth in scientific circles, and his body never buried publicly. 19. The code room buried in the forest. Half a mile from Reactor 2, Ukrainian rangers stumbled upon a half-collapsed shack in 2021. It wasn't marked on any maps. The metal door had a Soviet Ministry of Energy seal and a keypad, still intact. Inside, they found rows of obsolete Soviet computers, scorched paperwork, and dozens of reel-to-reel recorders, all playing back numbers, endless streams of digits, repeating, looping. Experts who reviewed the tapes described them as non-random binary blocks, similar to encrypted nuclear launch sequences, or something far more advanced. One physicist suggested the transmissions were not intended for humans at all. 20. The plant that shouldn't exist. In 2022, biologists studying regrowth in the Exclusion Zone found a single stalk of flora growing between cracks in the concrete just outside Reactor 1. It had no matching genus in any known database. The plant grew in a spiral, its leaves a reflective silver green. More bizarrely, it emitted low levels of ionized gas, and when placed near radiation, grew faster. The team called it Specimen ZN1. But weeks later, the plant was stolen. Cameras went offline, and all backup tissue cultures were corrupted in storage. Since then, all samples have disappeared. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more forbidden science, haunted history, and the mysteries they never wanted you to hear.